This podcast was brought to you by a trained hamster. If you think that's impressive, you should see him dancing the Carlton.
Hello and welcome to Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show with me, the Jonin Monkey.
And me, Sven the Crusader.
And so, here we are in August. Not much to say other than that, so let's get moving.
Yeah, not much to say other than the fact that, well, pray for me because I'm very soon about to be baking in my own house.
Well, in Britain we keep switching between baking and drenched if the weather can't make up its mind.
I hear that's the general rule in England.
It might also be something to do with a change in the climate, but nah, that's just crazy talk. Anyway, we better get into our first section, which is...
Q&A!
This is the section where we answer questions from the audience. If you'd like us to answer your questions, either leave them in the comments or send them to me via Twitter with the hashtag MBQuestion.
Our first question comes from IZ.
What is the cutest game/character you've ever seen?
Kirby.
Thank you for drawing that question out, Sven.
I'm sorry, there are some answers that just float instantly to the surface, like separated vanilla and rice milk.
Fair enough. In my case, the cutest game would definitely have to be Yoshi's Woolly World, because, I don't know, something about Yoshi's and Felt makes it equally adorable. As for the cutest character, what comes to mind, and it's gonna throw everyone off, is Skiddo.
Oh yeah! Honestly, I don't blame you.
For those who don't know, Skiddo is the Pokemon from one of the most recent generations at the time of recording, and he is essentially a grass-type goat. And the reason I mention this is because while I was umming and ahhing about whether to use Skiddo in my party, then I used the Pokemon and Me feature. And as it turns out, if you pet him and feed him enough, he does this freaking adorable dance.
Ha! Like Kirby.
Also, this may sound rather shallow, but there are now 3 requirements for each and every Pokemon to be on my team. 1, fairly decent stats. 2, type coverage that none of my other Pokemon can give. And 3, how adorable you are in Pokemon and Me.
Reasonable. And I'll follow on from that by harkening back to last month's episode. If we're talking about adorable human characters, Elise from Fire Emblem Fates melts my teeth from a distance.
Oh, yeah, she is adorable in her own way, I won't lie.
I also had Sakura, but her character is more Hinata-like, and I think that kind of precludes her, because it's more of a... Never mind.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It's kind of more sympathy rather than aw, if that makes sense.
Yeah, more sympathy rather than cavities.
Well, that's one way to put it, I guess.
But, yeah, that covers it. My abridged version at the start of this aside.
Indeed, yes. Our second question from Infinity Zero this month is considerably shorter.
Seen Steven Universe?
Oh boy. Before I get started, Jonin, have you?
Nope.
I have. I suppose that shouldn't be much of a surprise, given I used to watch that one show about ponies. I've upgraded to Space Rocks, and I have no regrets.
Fair enough. So for the benefit of people like me who haven't heard anything about Steven Universe, well, actually, I tell a lie, the only thing I've heard about it is that it has something to do with lesbian space rocks, and some people get angry if you refer to them as lesbians because they're gender neutral, so it doesn't count.
It's complicated, to be fair, but I'll at least summarize the plot without spelunking straight into a pool full of shit. Steven Universe is the story of a half-Gym, half-human boy named Steven. It's a long story, but basically Gyms are simultaneously the defenders and would-be destroyers of humanity, trying to prevent the aforementioned destroyers of humanity from destroying humanity. And in doing so, he meets up and teams up with the Crystal Gems. Garnet, the definition of the Stoic, Pearl, perfectionist extraordinaire, and Amethyst, the whip-it-good tomboy.
Oh, wow.
And for a show that's kind of filled the same niche as you know, that one show about ponies. It runs the gamut of adorable to absolutely horrifying to amazingly awesome to emotionally devastating.
Aww.
So, yeah, needless to say, for all the things it does to my emotions, I wholeheartedly recommend the series.
Okay then, well, I'll certainly give it a try if I find anywhere that broadcasts it, or at the very least some kind of legal streaming service.
I'm not sure, but I think it's on Cartoon Network. Also, I will say this, lesbians are involved.
So I've heard.
I'm just gonna go with that term because for the most part, the majority of the fandom accepts it, and, I mean, come on, visually, 99% of the cast is female. I'm not joking.
Yeah, that pretty much clinches it. The creators know what they're doing.
Yeah, pretty much. But, yeah, that's my solid recommendation of the day. Our next question comes from Vice of Legend.
Sonic's 25th anniversary stream has announced 2 new games in development. How do you feel about them?
Over to you, Jonin.
Hooray, something I know about. Okay, I should explain that I did slightly reword this question because when Vice first gave me this question, it was more along the lines of, how do I feel about the 25th anniversary? With the caveat that, at the time he gave it to me, Sega had announced that there would be a stream on July 22nd that would announce some new games to celebrate Sonic's 25th anniversary. Which was amusing because they announced this in a completely separate stream, so they had a stream to announce the announcement.
Sega, what the hell?
Yeah, their marketing has been a bit dubious in recent years, but...
No kidding.
On July 22nd, they teased 2 new Sonic games. The first was Sonic Mania, which is basically following the trend set by Mega Man's 9 and 10, and, bizarrely, Sonic 4 Episode 1.
Okay.
Basically, they're making a whole new 2D Sonic game that's styled around the classic games for the Genesis/Mega Drive, with some new mechanics, namely the drop dash, whatever the heck that means, and some updated graphics. Now, I mentioned Sonic 4 Episode 1, and that entire thing was just meh. It felt like it needed to jump on the bandwagon of making things 2D again, but not really putting any goddamn effort into it.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I can't say much about Sonic Mania, but from what I've seen in the teaser trailer, it certainly looks a lot better than that. The gameplay looks a lot faster. They've managed to find an art style that, the best way to describe it is HD sprite work, which looks a lot better, and you can tell that they put a little bit more effort into not just some of the gameplay gimmicks, but the visual style as well. Like, just to compare the 2 title screens, Sonic 4, it tries to replicate what we had in the Genesis/Mega Drive games, where Sonic pops up in the logo and wags his finger, but it's done so hideously badly that it looks like he's breaking his wrist in order to move it back and forth.
Ouch.
Yeah, but in Sonic Mania, they have a much more animated version of Sonic where he pops up, spins round, and then gives a thumbs up, which, yeah, it looks like there's been a lot more energy and effort put into this, so, yeah, if they can get it right this time, I honestly won't mind.
Well then, cautious optimism?
Yeah, that's honestly a mood that I feel about both trailers, actually, because the second one, they haven't really announced what it's called. It's, at the moment, just being referred to as Project Sonic 2017, which, smooth, guys. All we have so far is a teaser trailer that reveals that in the darkest times, the world needs a hero. And it has Sonic in his traditional design rather than the boom design, I should stress. Stepping up, see that there's these gigantic robots laying waste to a city, and he charges into battle, but then another caption comes up saying, but sometimes a hero needs help. And then classic Sonic pops into view. And then the two of them sort of give each other a bro nod and then charge straight into battle. And that's all we know about it so far. Apart from one last caption which says, "Join the resistance."
Sonic goes Batman.
Basically, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about this because, on the one hand, part of me feels like Sega are pandering a little too much by bringing classic Sonic back, which only really worked as an idea in Sonic Generations because, you know, there's time traveling involved. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's highly possible that there is time traveling involved in this story and they're both trying to stop an apocalyptic future. I don't know, but it felt kind of like pandering, and the tagline "Join the Resistance" made me feel like they're trying to reference the freedom fighter stuff that happened in the Archie comics and the Sonic cartoon the fans nicknamed Satayem. And on top of that, some people may point out that, well, we've just gotten over the whole stage where Sonic took itself so seriously and added in some humor, and now we're going back to the ridiculous melodrama. But even with all of that, I'm still fairly optimistic about it because, well, two reasons. One, they've mentioned that the gameplay is being made by the same team that made Colors and Generations. You know, the 3D Sonic games everyone likes.
Ha!
So that's already a more positive step. The second is, I'm definitely going to have to do a VGT on this at a later date, because it is a subject I want to explore, but the thing is, after both Lost World and Rise of Lyric, which basically had... Well, let me put it this way. You mentioned that Steven Universe is able to juggle the heart-wrenching moments, the adorable moments, and the funny moments, and the awesome moments. Lost World tries that, but fails horribly.
Well, I mean, it is Sonic, but go on.
To quickly sum up, you have a story which puts Sonic and Tails' friendship to the test, and has Sonic dealing with the guilt over the fact that the world could be destroyed because of a mistake he made, and Eggman flat out threatening to burn someone's entire world and make them watch, whilst fighting against villains who are literal one-note jokes such as "I'm fat, I'm the girl, I'm crazy," and dialogue such as "Okay, everyone who thinks Eggman is a bonehead raise their hand." And then you have Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, which goes out of its way to make sure there is no tension at any point in the story. If it looks like there's a moment that you could take seriously, they will throw in a stupid joke to try and calm things down, or just shrug it off like it's no big deal. What's even worse is that it also flows into the gameplay as well. Like, I am not kidding. If you die on a boss in Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, you fade to black, and you're returned to the exact same point, with the boss at the exact same level of HP he was when you died to him. So, there is literally no point in dodging the attacks, because all you lose is 5 seconds.
Wow! So not only did they deliberately suck out any tension, they sucked out any challenge.
Basically, yeah.
Wow, Sega. I'm fucking speechless.
Yeah, so given all of that and the failed attempts to try and lighten up Sonic...
It was already light!
Well, maybe I should rephrase this. The attempts to have a storyline that's not taken seriously...
Sonic already wasn't taken seriously, Sega!
Okay, fair point. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, I'm actually at a stage when I would like to go back to the serious stories because, yeah, stuff like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 was, well, let's not beat around the bush. It is laughable. Absolutely laughable, the story, but there is a charm to it, like in the whole non-charm, because I really can't explain it, but I think there's something a lot more appealing about someone trying to tell an epic story and not quite realizing that it looks laughable to anyone watching, than it is watching a comedian trying to be funny and failing disastrously.
Yeah, it's basically the video gaming equivalent of Dane Cook.
Basically, yeah. Or to put it another way, people have a strange fondness for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Very few people like Adam Sandler.
Oh god, no kidding. Oh god, and it's a terrible state of affairs indeed whenever that's the closest comparison you can draw.
Yeah, pretty much. So, long story short, it may not be perfect, but I am still cautiously optimistic, and I'm certainly willing to give these games a chance. As far as I'm concerned, even if it's a so bad it's good Sonic story, I'll be more than happy with it, frankly.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And I'll just be pleased with anything that doesn't go the Sandler route.
Indeed, yeah. Moving on, our next question comes from Roy Havenstone, and he asks,
What is your opinion on the new God of War's direction so far?
Don't know, and I do not even remotely care about God of War.
Okay, fair enough. For those of you who don't know, during E3 2016, a new trailer for God of War 4 was revealed, and normally, like Sven, I haven't played God of War, and I'm not that interested in it, but what has intrigued many people is that they seem to be taking Kratos in a different direction. In that, the trailer starts off with Kratos now sporting a very thick, bushy beard.
I approve already.
Steps out into the spotlight, and then suddenly goes, "Come on, son, we're going hunting," and throws him a bow and arrow.
Wow, the manliest father-son experience there ever was.
That is basically it there, because the rest of the game is them going on a hunting trip and then suddenly encountering this gigantic troll monster, but the son's following you the entire time. And even during the boss battle, there's still characters' dialogue going on it, with the son going, "Help me, Dad, what do I do? Shoot him in the eyes! Shoot him in the eyes, son!"
Go for the optics, Chiquita. Okay, I apologize immediately for that horrible Mass Effect reference, but I never thought in my life that God of War would take that direction.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and if nothing else, it definitely gives some more dimension to Kratos, the fact that he is having to be a more fatherly figure and set a good example. Granted, it's Kratos, so he still is a bit grumpy and short-tempered with his child, but...
Well, I mean, it's Greek mythology. It wouldn't be Greek mythology if someone wasn't an asshole.
Basically, yeah, but he's clearly trying, bless him, so...
That's more than I can say of Zeus.
Indeed, yes, so... If this is the direction the rest of the game goes in, I would definitely be happy, because, again, it does show another part of Kratos' character, and it's something that the series hasn't explored before. I'm just really hopeful that this isn't something that only happens in the first level and the child gets killed in order to spur the plot forward. Because that would be a huge waste of potential, honestly.
Oh god, no kidding, and honestly I wouldn't put it past modern game developers. I guess I'll be cautiously optimistic, which is a weird thing to say about God of War. Our next question comes from McDuck.
If you could become the next Doctor, what would your character be like? Also, if you could choose any writer for your episodes, who would it be and why?
Why do you do this to me? I haven't even remotely thought of an answer to this, so go ahead, person who lives in the country that Doctor Who is based in.
Okay, I guess if I was the Doctor, it's kind of hard to come off the top of my head, but I think if I was a Doctor, I would probably be something like Matt Smith in that the character would be jolly and eccentric, but at the same time, he would have a tinge of Mikleo from Tales of Zestria, which, for those of you who don't know, Mikleo is a character who tries to look like the cool and sophisticated anti-hero, but is so gullible he ends up being the butt of every single joke and every single conversation, no matter how hard he tries.
Nice self-deprecation, Jonin.
Yeah, basically. So, I think that would be, like, he would, like, if I was the Doctor, I would probably be in many situations where I'm trying to look badass, and then I would say something that just has everyone looking at me confused, and I'm just going, "Now, whatever, your spaceship's blowing up now."
Oh god, now it's back to me. I haven't put nearly as much thought into this as you have, but...
I've come up with it off the top of my head, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
Fair enough. But if I were to choose any doctor I'd base my character on, Christopher Eccleston. And honestly, he was also one of the only good examples I've ever seen of how to do an nitty-gritty, war-torn anti-hero. Also, if I were ever to become the Doctor, I would demand that waistcoats be involved and I was allowed to keep my beard.
That would actually be a point if I was the Doctor. Following the tradition of jelly babies and bow ties, I would insist that apple juice was cool and...
Probably it'd be either black tea, rice milk, or orange juice for me. I'd say we pulled an answer out of our hats pretty effectively for that one.
Indeed, except for the second part of the question, which was if you could choose any writer for your episodes.
I'm trying to remember who the writing staff have been.
I am copying you to a page I've just found which has the list of Doctor Who writers.
I appreciate that, but I've literally just remembered who my favorite writer on the show was.
Okay, you go ahead then.
As far as writers go, I'm not gonna break it down into like a writing team, separate writers for separate series like Stephen Moffat and Russell Davis have done. Instead, I'll tell you who I would hire as my showrunner because he directed my favorite episode of the new series, Toby Whitehouse. The man responsible for School Reunion, which to me was just perfect Doctor Who. I mean, it had nostalgia, it had Sarah Jane, it had serious moments, and it was also hilarious. That to me was the encapsulation of what Doctor Who should be.
That is fair enough, and in fact, part of me is a little gypped because I was actually searching for one specific writer when we were given the answer. Said writer wrote Under the Lake and Before the Flood, which were my two favourite episodes of the later season, because again, classic Doctor Who adventure, and it was able to tell its own self-contained story with a good payoff, which is more than Moffat's done in his own stories so far. And guess what? It's Toby Whitehouse.
Well, hot damn! We really are a pair of ninjas. I guess Jonin is more accurate than I thought.
So, yeah, in our case it would be exactly the same. We would want our showrunner to be Toby Whitehouse.
Yeah, pretty much.
With that question firmly answered, it's now time to dip into the madness of Toon Junkie. His question is...
Do either of you know where I can buy some cream for my burning question?
You okay, Sven? Do you need some as well?
I need some for my throat now, just Jesus, that pun! You wanna take this, Jonin?
I'll just recommend Boots, but that's only if you live in the UK. If you live elsewhere, sorry, I don't know your pharmaceutical companies.
Gold Bond Toon Junkie, now get out.
On that note...
Oh, it hurts my insides.
Once again, thank you for all the questions, and do keep them coming, they always make this show interesting. But, it's now time for us to move on to our second section, which is...
Reviews!
This is the section where we both review something we've read, watched, or played this month. Although this time, it's just going to be me, as there hasn't been much time between recordings, to be fair, but Sven hasn't got anything this time.
I lead a charmed life, clearly.
So, I'm going to kind of cheat, because I'm going to review two things, but they both cover a very similar theme. See, I'm already subscribed to Shonen Jump Alpha, which, for those who don't know, it's the service approved by Shonen Jump and run by Viz Media, which is basically by paying $2 a month, or £2 a month in my case, since Britain, you get the official translations of every single Shonen Jump issue every week. That means you can keep up to date with the latest chapters of My Hero Academia, Food Wars, One Piece, Boruto, Bleach, if you are that desperate. But
yeah, I mean, if you've run out of 50 Shades of Grey to read and need some kind of upgrade, I guess that works.
Yeah, because of that, and discovering that there is a very similar service for American comics known as Comixology, I decided to dip into American comics, but There are a lot of series, so I'm still looking for recommendations. So, yeah, if there are any American comics you think I should get into, let me know. At the moment, I haven't done much. I've read 1 or 2 superhero issues, and I've also looked into American Alien, and if I ever do finish that series, I'll review it here. But there are 2 series I have completed, and I'm going to review them both because they are both a very similar theme. Crossovers of 2 big franchises.
This can already only end well.
Indeed, especially since, of the 2 miniseries, I'm going to be nice and start with one that touches the series that is dear to both me and Sven's heart. Assimilation², aka the crossover between Star Trek The Next Generation and Doctor Who.
Holy
Yes, this is an actual thing. It is a crossover featuring Patrick Stewart and the rest of the cast of Star Trek The Next Generation, and Matt Smith's Doctor, number 11.
Please tell me Matt Smith's Doctor gets to at some point under the infamous 3 words, "Shut up, Wesley."
Sadly, no. They decided to cross over from a point in the series when Wesley left. So.
Probably for the best. Not just for us, but also for Will Wheaton's sanity.
Yeah. Not to mention that, well, I'm sure that Wesley's occupying the same universe as Clara Oswald, aka where all creators' pets go to die.
All dogs go to heaven, but all creators' pets go here, apparently.
Yeah, again, this is an honest god thing published by IBW, and I'm gonna be honest, there were many moments in the series where just looking at the artwork and imagining Patrick Stewart and Matt Smith in the same room did make me unbelievably happy, but
I bet!
But I should get to the critical analysis of it, so let's go to the premise. The premise kind of kicks off with the 2 characters doing their own separate thing. The Doctor and his companions, Roy and Amy for the record, again, yay!
Oh, wow! Those are names I haven't heard in a while after their stunningly bad departure from the show.
Indeed, yes. They're kind of just doing their own thing, saving ancient Egypt from aliens, and the Star Trek crew are doing their own thing, which is visiting a mining planet and discussing philosophical questions. But then, something strange happens. The Doctor and his companions enter the TARDIS and they arrive in what appears to be 1950 San Francisco. Except, as they find out after walking about for a bit, they are in fact in the Starship Enterprise's holodeck, where they're running a simulation of a 1950s film noir game.
Oh, wow! Mr. LaForge engage?
Yeah, I got to admit that is actually a really clever way of getting the 2 to meet up, but yeah. Once the Star Trek crew get over their surprise of what they think is a holodeck character coming up and going, "Oh wow, an android! That's really, really, really cool." And when they try and shut the holodeck off, they not only find that what they believe to be 3 holograms don't disappear, but there is also a police box in the middle of there.
Which is strange even by Star Trek standards.
Indeed, yes. They're then escorted by Mr. Worf and a small security team. To which Matt Smith rather jollily goes, "Ah, aren't you a big fellow? A Klingon, I presume."
Wow.
Only the Doctor, folks. But anyway, it actually gets interesting because as they're being led away, the Doctor suddenly says to the companions, "Something is very wrong here." Before I looked at that fellow, I had never even heard of the word Klingon before.
Ha! Again, only the Doctor, but that's really, really cool.
Indeed. As it turned out, the Doctor was onto something, because in this comic story, Doctor Who and Star Trek do not exist in the same universe. They are in fact in parallel dimensions. Except something has basically caused the 2 dimensions to start sliding together into one, meaning that some of the Starfleet records and the Doctor's memories are being messed up. What is the cause of this dimensional interference, you ask? An old nemesis of the Doctor's, the Cybermen.
Of course it's the Cybermen. It's either the Cybermen or the Daleks.
Indeed, and the reason I mentioned that the Doctor's memory is jumbling up is that it serves for one pretty fun filler chapter that occurs in the miniseries where they see footage of the Cyberman when the Federation informs the Enterprise of an attack that's going on, and they look through the records and they find that, sure enough, there was indeed records of an incident in the Federation years ago involving the Cyberman that wasn't there before. The Doctor then suddenly gets a flashback, which leads us into an incident where the original Enterprise crew, aka Captain Kirk, Spock, and Dr. McCoy, team up with Tom Baker, aka the Fourth Doctor.
Oh my god! I'm so happy.
And before anyone asks, yes, the Fourth Doctor does offer Spock a jelly baby.
Of course he does.
Which leads to the following quote from Mr. Spock. Fascinating. Gelatin confectionery dusted with starch and molded into the shape of a small child.
Silliness personified meets just about the only character who has ever given Garnet from Steven Universe a run for her money in stoicism.
Indeed, and what's even more amusing is that the Cybermen in question, the ones Captain Picard and the 11th Doctor fight look like the modern day Cyberman. The ones Kirk and Tom Baker fight are the really old 70s versions of the Cybermen, which look like people in bodysuits with irons attached to their heads.
This is silly in all the right ways.
Indeed. That is actually one element I definitely will say for the series right off the bat, is that it mixes different elements of the series together in just the right amounts. Like, it makes good use of everything it has from both series to make a plot that does hold itself together pretty well, because you may be wondering why the title is Assimilation². Well, the reason the Cybermen decided to cross dimensions is because, well, they decided, yeah, we're scary, but we want to make people wet themselves even more than they already do, so we're gonna team up with the Borg.
Oh dear God.
Yeah, admittedly I was explaining that premise out of order, because the first thing that happens is an innocent planet from Star Trek being completely and utterly taken over by the combined might of both the Borg and the Cybermen.
I'm terrified already.
Yeah, there's nothing quite as chilling as that first panel where a huge invasion force comes down with both the Borg and Cybermen mixed among them, and one of the Cybermen just goes,
Resistance is useless.
I'd say so. Unless you're the Doctor and, if you will, the Spockter.
Indeed, yes. So, glossing over that pun.
Oh, that hurt even me.
Although, thankfully for the best, and a rather interesting twist in the tale, is that this is a side spoiler, but it happens fairly early on, is that thankfully this nightmarish union doesn't last for very long, because as it turns out, it was an idea that both sides thought was good at the time, but let me give you an abridged version of their thought processes.
Hooray! This is awesome. We have found another robotic race that likes to convert organics into part of their army. Let's team up. Wait a minute. When you said combine organics and other races into their army, were you planning on doing the same to us? Well, screw you. We're gonna do it to you first.
That coalition lasted about as long as Unity and the Republican Party.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's pretty awesome because, again, it's a good use of what they have, because the Borg and the Cyberman, it is one of the most terrifying combinations that you think of, but again, when you actually think about it for more than 5 minutes, you realise, wait a minute, they don't cooperate with anyone. That's the whole point.
Yeah, so there was no chance it would ever end well.
Basically, yeah, so it then leads into the new dilemma, which is the premise for the other two-thirds of the story, which is that the Borg and the Cyberman are now fighting each other, and everyone in between is getting caught up in it, And there's the dilemma of, do we just let them kill each other, or do we aid one side, in this case the Borg, to try and end the conflict once and for all? Which is a bit of a sore spot, given that Captain Picard, that was just this one incident where a Borg collective kidnapped him, stole his entire personality, and made him part of the collective. And then forced him to destroy several Federation ships in what is considered one of the worst and most horrific battles in the Star Trek universe.
But no hard feelings.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of which, again, this miniseries does make good use of what it has in not only just keeping the plot together, but also throwing in nice little nods and references, including one amusing exchange, even if it is a bit of a stretch, because they realise that they have to get a piece of Borg technology from when they're in their prime, and Picard mutters grimly, I guess there's only one place I can think of, the Battle of War 359. Which causes the 11th Doctor to mutter under his breath, "Bad wolf again, huh?"
Really? Really?
Yeah, it's a cute reference, but it's a massive stretch.
I know, right?
So, all in all, even if you put aside the references, it still works really well as a short basic plot. It flows at a good place, everything is established very well, and there's some nice interaction between the characters, and in fact, it's kind of interesting to see the brief moment when the Doctor and Picard briefly butt heads, because, well, again, the Doctor, being the Doctor, is the one saying that we should work with the Borg as we're running out of options, but Picard saying, no, in fact, I think we should let the Borg all get destroyed by the Cybermen.
Which, to be fair, is reasonable.
Indeed, yes.
I mean, I think there is no race in Star Trek single-handedly responsible for more death than the Borg.
Indeed. There are also some amusing counter moments like Data, the resident android of the Star Trek Next Generation crew, when he gets to the TARDIS for the first time, he goes, interesting. Dimensional space is warped around this ship so that it'll be much larger on the inside. And then the Doctor goes, finally, someone who's quick on the uptake.
Someone finally understands.
So yeah, it is a really good and functional series, and yeah, it's just nice to see the two crews interacting. And like in both Doctor Who and Star Trek episodes, it all leads to this big action-based climax where they take on the Cyber Controller, who has modified himself from Borg parts in order to save the universe. There are only two criticisms I have with it. The first is that, in order to make it work, they kind of had to exaggerate the characters' abilities. The first being that, well, it doesn't matter if you look at the classic series or the new series, the Cybermen have never had the ability to cross dimensions as easily as they did.
No, I mean, not even the Daleks have that ability.
The one time they did cross dimensions in the New Who, it was because they were piggybacking on another phenomenon, which I think actually the Daleks have created. I can't remember, but...
Go figure.
In fairness to Sven, that scheme was created by the Dalek equivalent of Mensa, so it's not something they can do very often. By extension, it also happens to the character of Guinan, who, fun note, was played by Whoopi Goldberg, which would be another interesting actress to have interact with Matt Smith.
Oh my god, no kidding.
Guinan is the resident mystic on the crew, except her race has this odd ability that they can sense temporal disturbances. Like, they have this strange sixth sense that they can tell when something's been altered in time. Like, if someone goes back and changes the future, everyone else will be fine, but they will know that something's been altered. But in this series, it's gone from vaguely knowing that something's wrong and this is not how it's supposed to be, to I know exactly what's wrong, I know who did it, I know what they're planning to do, and for good measure, I also know their credit card details.
Oh god, it just reminds me of Will Wheaton on Tabletop. I want to know his personal information, I want to know his parents' names, I want to know his financial situation, and I want to know his MapleStory account!
The second is... it's a little problem that is technically tied to the Doctor's character, because ideally a good crossover should have the two sides being equals, not having one side dominate the other. And the problem is, the very nature of the Doctor's character is showing up whoever's supposed to be in charge of the situation.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Peter Capaldi is especially a master of that, but it kind of happens in all incarnations.
Basically, yeah, so... Honestly, while the story is definitely solid, it often comes off more like the standard Doctor Who episode where the Doctor ends up on a spaceship or a mysterious facility, there's a strange enemy, and the Doctor has to convince the surly, unreasonable captain to do things his way, and then they team up to take down the enemy. It's that standard premise we've seen in a lot of Doctor Who episodes, but with the Star Trek crew.
Yeah, and that's a bit harder to justify because you're actually dealing with a crew that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been solved if there was a moment where the Star Trek crew could show off their expertise. Like, they do help in taking down the Cybermen, like, their engineers are the ones who come up with part of the plan to disable the Cybermen, but ultimately, it's still the Enterprise crew acting on the plan the Doctor had in the first place. There was one scene which I felt was a missed opportunity, because there's one moment when, in order to get enough gold in order to take out the Cybermen, yeah, gold is the Cyberman's weakness. It makes sense in context, I swear.
That explains why Cybermen died anytime Ace shot coins at him in the 7th Doctor's run.
Oh yeah, it's something to do with the fact that gold is the one metal they can't breathe and therefore it suffocates them.
Moving on!
Yeah. Basically, they're going down to this alien planet to get a lot of gold, and personally, if I was writing it, I would use this as the chance to show what the Next Generation crew can do, because here's the thing, Picard is not the best physical captain. Like, if push comes to shove, he might be able to get out, but his greatest strength is in his diplomacy and mastery of words, to the point where one of my favourite Picard moments is in an episode called The Drum Trial, the Drumhead, but close enough, where the Starfleet equivalent of George Bush,
this can only end well.
basically tries to get Picard and one of his other crew members tried for treason because said crew member has a grandfather of a Romulan who the Federation are currently fighting, and Picard's the only one who goes, hang on, this is complete and utter bullcrap. He has a parent, that doesn't mean he's a terrorist. Which basically led her to insist that he's a traitor and have him stand in court. And Picard is able to deflect all of the vicious attacks she's making, and then just sort of calmly delivers a speech about justice using words that the accuser's father once used. And because he does this so well, it gets to the point where said accuser gets to her feet and starts raving, like, full-on raving, like, how dare you! You who consort with Romulans! I know you are working with Picard! I've taken down bigger men than you! And it gets to the point where the head of Starfleet security, as in the man whose job it is to make sure that there aren't terrorists and saboteurs on the crew, just walks out of the room in complete disgust. He doesn't say anything. He just gets up, gives everyone a look that goes, yeah, I'm wasting my time here, and walks out the room.
You're on your own.
So yeah, Picard is basically a master of arguing with words. And yet, when it comes to this scene, when he's arguing with some difficult aliens, trying to find the best words of diplomacy to get the gold they need, it's the Doctor who comes forth and delivers the great epic speech that convinces the aliens. And I honestly feel that's the biggest misstep, because, yeah, it leads back to the situation we have where it's basically a Doctor Who episode, but with Star Trek characters in it.
Yeah, and I mean, Matt Smith's Doctor was absurdly charismatic, but let the other cast have their time to shine.
Yeah, the only person who really does get that big moment is Worf, and, well, that's only really for two minor points. One is that he and a small team are able to basically completely destroy the engines of a Cyberman ship and make it out alive. The second is, admittedly, it's purely a personal thing, just because he challenges a conventional Doctor Who I've never been a fan of. Because at first, when they're all suiting up, they try to give Rory and Amy some phasers, and the Doctor does his usual thing of butting in and saying, no guns! Guns make people stupid! That's the exact arguments he uses, by the way.
Yeah, that whole argument. I get what it's alluding to, but in the context of a sci-fi series, it's a load of bollocks.
Basically, yeah, and eventually, when the group gets separated and it's just Amy and Rory with Worf and a legion of security members, after a scuffle, they have a conversation that basically goes,
Mr. and Mrs. Williams, I have 2 spare phasers if you want to use them.
but you heard the Doctor. He said no guns.
The Doctor isn't here, and stupidity is in an open hand. I have no problems continuing to protect you, but wouldn't you rather protect yourselves?
Stupidity is in an open hand. I'm using that!
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a pacifist and I feel that violence and killing shouldn't be your first options, but at the same time, there is a middle ground, okay?
When you're about to die and when there are Cybermen on the line, I think exceptions can be made.
Yeah, basically, so Worf gets a lot of badass moments, but the other members of the cast, especially Paul Picard, don't get that many moments to shine, which, yeah, I feel is a misstep overall, but otherwise, all in all, if you're a fan of both Star Trek and Doctor Who, I would definitely recommend reading this series. It's a great short story on its own, and yeah, just the mental image of just seeing Patrick Stewart, Matt Smith, and Whoopi Goldberg in the same room is just awesome, frankly.
Huh. Now someone needs to tell Will Wheaton this series exists and watch the ensuing fangasm.
But I said we were going to be doing 2 crossover comics, which leads me into the second one. Worlds Collide, aka the crossover between Sonic and Mega Man.
I never thought that would be the Sonic crossover that actually ended up being a thing, but here we are.
Yes, it's actually kind of funny. In the creator's notes for this comic, the writer Ian Flynn thought, when Archie acquired the rights to make both Sonic and Mega Man comics, I dreamed of a crossover, but I knew it could never happen. And then suddenly it did. I guess they somehow managed to get over the legal framework there.
Well, good on them.
Yeah. Basically, the premise of this is, whilst experimenting with interdimensional technology, of all the people who had to meet each other, Dr. Wily and Dr. Eggman became best friends.
Huh. So Death Battle was entirely wrong the whole time.
Admittedly, there is some friction, namely over naming conventions, like, they use the interdimensional technology to create a small pocket dimension where they can hang out, but they have this furious discussion about what the heck they're going to name it until they eventually settle on Skull Egg Zone, which...
I can't tell if that's stupid or awesome.
Well, it's pretty much the only compromise, since Wily wants to go with the Skull Zone, since, you know, his whole theme is about around Skull Fortresses and the like, and Eggman being Eggman insists it has to be called the Egg Zone and the Egg Dimension.
You can't make this up. Only in Sonic and Mega Man.
Indeed. I should warn you now, it's a crossover that only gets more insane from here on out, to the point where one of my favourite short exchanges is this moment where Sonic and Mega Man are saved by another Mega Man character named Duo, and the exchange goes something along the lines of, "So, Mega Man, is this a friend of yours?" "Yeah, this is Duo. He's a robot from outer space that fights evil energy." "Sure, why not?"
Ha! Sonic speaks for us all. I never thought I'd say that.
Basically, yeah, to be honest, Sonic gets a lot of snark in this comic, but anyway,
I approve. Just so long as he doesn't get any cheesy 90s one-liners.
So the two of them hatch a plan in order to try and rewrite reality so that they're the rulers, and they conduct one's first attempt at this with what is known as the Genesis Wave, which rewrites current reality and merges the past and the future together in this weird amalgamation. Now, you may be wondering why the hell they needed to do that, and honestly, it's an idea that the more you think about it, the more you realise it's actually a stroke of genius, because basically it's a way of bringing the comic continuity in line with the game continuity for the duration of this crossover, and then fixing it when it's all gone. Because here's the thing, by the time this crossover happened, the Mega Man comics were only getting round to the plot of Mega Man 3, to the point where Breakman is still hiding behind a mask and hasn't revealed that he's Proto Man yet, which is a bit awkward because Proto Man is one of Mega Man's anti-heroes and one of the most popular characters, so yeah, it'd be pretty awkward if this crossover didn't feature him. And in the meantime, Sonic was having a whole different continuity that deviated from the games entirely, with stuff like the Freedom Fighters. Then there was also Princess Sally from Satayem, who at the time had been roboticized, so she was in fact Mecha Sally. No, I'm not making it up. So,
wow.
So basically, they knew that people who were fans of the games but hadn't read the comics were going to pick this up, so they basically used the whole past and present merging thing so that all of the characters that have been in the games up to this point can be the crossover without basically wrecking the continuity the comics were having.
Ha! That's actually fairly clever.
Yeah, it's also partially because this is just from something I've read, and people are more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but the reason why a certain plot point happens at the end, which implies that something may have gone wrong in the restoration of Sonic's world, is because apparently there needed to be a soft reboot, because from what I understand, one of the creative team in the comics left and then insisted that all of the characters he had created for the comic were his property, and thus the comic would have to pay him vast royalties if they wanted to use them.
What a dick.
Yeah, basically, so they had to conduct a small reboot. So yeah, in this case, the Genesis Wave is a really clever device to, bring the game and comic continuities together. And because of this, Wily and Eggman conduct a plan that involves 3 major steps. The first is using a combination of Copy Robot and Metal Sonic to attack Mega Man and Sonic respectively, so that the two of them turn on each other and thus engage in a fight, which they enjoy immensely.
Of course.
And admittedly, and fans of Death Battle would probably enjoy it as well. The second is to kidnap all of Sonic's friends and use a special version of the Roboticizer, which basically turns them into robot masters from Mega Man.
Wow! Wow! Cruel and practical.
Yeah, which admittedly is a bit goofy, seeing robots called Tails Man, Knuckles Man, etc., but does make for pretty good threats. And the third is build awesome death machine and then use the Genesis Wave to rewrite reality.
As you do.
Yes, well, they're 2 evil scientists. What else were they going to do?
Of course.
So, with that, once Sonic and Mega Man realise that they've been duped, which is actually kind of funny, because they're halfway through the battle and Sonic's running in between cars, and then Mega Man goes, "There's no reason for people to get hurt. Return the gem and I'll call off the chase. I didn't steal anything. You're the one who kidnapped my friends." "No, I didn't kidnap anyone." "What? Really?" "Yeah." "Huh."
Who's on first? What's on second?
Which is actually pretty funny because it leads to, at the time, Eggman and Wily are watching this and their exact reaction is, "Oh no! They've started talking to each other!"
Someone in a comic book actually bothered to try and figure out what's going on.
So, once they figured out, oh wait, the both of us are good guys, Mega Man and Sonic team up to A, rescue Sonic's friends, and B, take down Wily and Eggman once and for all. And, as you can probably gather from what I've explained, there are 2 positive aspects of this comic right away. First off, it embraces the silliness of this series wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I can tell.
It embraces them and uses them to good use in creating some insane but really fun to read action sequences, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it is Mega Man and Sonic, so I would be disappointed if we got anything else.
Indeed, yes. And the other thing, which is, I'm as surprised to say this as you are, the incredibly well-developed arc of Dr. Wily and Dr. Eggman's relationship.
Go on.
Well, It's really interesting because, okay, like I said before, they meet up, they become friends, and initially there's friction over naming conventions, but the two of them are actually chumming it up really well. They respect each other, they're bouncing ideas off each other, and when things happen, they discuss what the best thing to do is. Like, I mentioned when Eggman and Wily were realizing that Mega Man and Sonic were going to stop fighting each other. Eggman's impulse is, okay, we have to attack now. Wait a minute, if we attack now, are we just going to confirm their suspicions were right all along? Yeah, but if we don't attack now, we're not going to have the element of surprise because they'll be coming straight for us. Good point. Attack!
Okay, so for the first time, villains in a crossover series actually bother to talk.
Basically, yeah.
I have a feeling these villain team-ups would be a lot more successful if that happened more often.
Indeed, yes, although cracks at the seams start to come apart basically due to the fact that at the end of the day, they're still very flawed people, because when Sonic and Mega Man start making progress in their efforts to stop them, the two doctors, they start off going, well, things may look bad, but that's only because these guys were a distraction. Yes, that's right, it was a distraction. I mean, we still got our battleship, and we still have the Genesis Wave, which will rewrite reality, so yeah, it's just a distraction, stalling for time. And then it cuts to them both thinking in thought balloons, yeah, this has been fun, but as soon as things go sour, I'm jumping ship and leaving you behind, sorry. And then, as things go on, there reaches a very divisive point that kind of shows the difference between the two. See, early on, in order to make sure that Mega Man doesn't get the information and intel he needs, the two doctors kidnap Dr. Light, Mega Man's creator.
Because that always happens.
Basically, yeah. There are two interesting things here. One, I'm just going to deviate it from now because this is another point. One other thing this crossover does well is that each and every character from the Sonic and Mega Man universe gets their chance to shine, even if it's just doing something cool in one or two panels. And in Dr. Light's case, he delivers a speech which, it's trying to get Wily and Eggman to stop what they're doing, but it also serves as a massive burn on the both of them, because he basically tries to explain that, hey, have you ever thought that maybe rewriting all of reality is a mistake? And Wily just goes, oh, what do you know, Thomas? You've never had the ambition and desires I have. I am going to rewrite reality, and we are in complete control. And Dr. Light then responds, I have lost count of the number of times you thought you were in control of something, and then Mega Man had to save you. Or have you already forgotten Robo, Enza, Gamma, and Base? And you, Eggman, from what I've heard, you're no different either. The Ark, Chaos, Dark Gaia, you guys have never been in control of anything, and now you're messing with things which could rewrite all of reality. For the love of God, stop.
Wow, Dr. Light actually gives a Doctor Who speech. Something fitting about that, considering what we just reviewed.
Indeed, and this is where it gets interesting, because after the two walk away, Eggman suddenly thinks to himself, wait a minute, how does he know our plan, and how does he know about my backstory? So he figures that somehow Light has been able to get in contact with the enemy and exchange information, so he decides the only thing to do is to kill Light and cut off that source of intel. Which Wily does not take too kindly. Which, when everyone points out, hang on a minute, why are you so angry? I thought you hated Dr. Light. Wily responds, yes, I do, and I want to see him defeated, humiliated, and humbled, not dead!
Wow! That's the most twisted sense of even evil has standards I've ever seen.
Basically, yeah, and so this leads to the complete self-destruction of their relationship, because at that point, Wily thinks Eggman is insane and reckless, and Eggman thinks, okay, you are a complete idiot who's obsessed with his own ego. I'm sorry, I'm screwing you over the first chance I get.
Wow! I'm speechless, because that's good writing in a Sonic Mega Man storyline.
I know, right? like the other crossover, it's surprising how well plotted it is. Like, the only weakness I can think of is that eventually the whole Sonic character Robot Master thing gets a bit tiring when, okay, yeah, we have to get through these characters as well, blah blah, fight scene, but even that, it only feels like a brief moment of padding, and then we get back to the rest of the story, which, again, it's well paced and actually does have tension in it at some moments, and embraces the silliness into some really awesome sequences, which I only spoil one, just to give you an idea of the insane scope this comic has. There is one point where, in order to get to the Wily Egg, the name of their fortress,
Of course Wily took the name of the fortress.
basically, yeah. In order to get to that, they have to fight an army of robot masters, which consists of every single boss from every single Mega Man game.
Holy sh...
Yeah, this entire sequence, it goes on through several issues, and frankly, just some of the individual fights that go on in this one massive brawl would make good death battles on their own.
Oh, wow. I'm not gonna lie, I'm intrigued, and I never thought I'd say that because I'm not a fan of Sonic or Mega Man. I will say this though, please Jesus tell me someone wrecks Bubble Man's
Yeah, all in all, both are really awesome crossover comics. If you're a fan of any of these series, I wholeheartedly recommend you check these things out.
I think I just might do that. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I might check out the Sonic one first.
If you want to look them up and you don't want to buy a physical book, they're available on Comixology for, I believe, £2 a book.
That's better than the 15 million commissions I've been buying.
And what's funny is, I wasn't thinking about this before because I know that the continuities are long and twisted, but I'm now kind of interested in checking out the Sonic and Mega Man series just because of the way the story ends off, which, yeah, I never thought I would say that, but I'm intrigued.
Good job, writers!
Indeed. With both of those out of the way, we move on to our final section,
Quickfire Reviews!
This is the section where we review everything else we've read, watched, or played, but within the maximum time limit of 60 seconds. Sven, do you have anything for this?
It's been 2 weeks since we recorded the last Monkey broadcast, so no.
Yeah, recording was kind of messed up last month.
Yeah, things happened that complicated other things.
Actually, I can mention two things pretty quickly, both of them shonen manga.
First, Boruto. The series is still going on, and whilst apparently it's still going through the plot of the Boruto movie, it's still a pretty good story on its own, making use of the characters. Boruto himself could do with some improvement because right now he is a whiny git, but at the same time, the rest of the story is good, and the characters are likeable, and what's funny is that when Sasuke grows up, he's actually kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. He is a very serious, mature teacher, and he's a really good friend of Naruto, so yeah, who knew? For Sasuke to be tolerable, he had to, well, grow up.
I think there's a moral in that. Also, I find it hilarious that the character that ended up taking Sasuke's place as the whiny, insufferable git was Naruto's kid, not Sasuke's. This actually reminds me of a thought that I had while reading Naruto Gaiden. Adult Sasuke kinda reminds me of Kratos from Tales of Symphonia.
Holy crap, you're right, actually.
Even in character design, they have almost the same hair.
Oh, holy crap, you're right. Well, my opinion of Sasuke is now just increased even more, so...
I cannot believe either of us would ever have said that, but here we are.
Yeah, it just goes to show that every character can be redeemed if you put some thought into it.
It's just a shame that Sasuke's plot was so unbelievably stupid to get him to this point, but at least it's improved.
Indeed. And finally...
Food Wars, aka Shokugeki no Soma. It's someone entering a cookery school in which all of the exams are based around Iron Chef competitions, which is frankly insane, but also awesome. It is frankly one of the biggest guilty pleasures, namely because the way they show off how tasty the food is how orgasmic it is. That is a very literal term, but it's a series that just recognizes and acknowledges its insane stupidity and just focuses on rule of cool and cookery, which, yeah, if you're a fan of either of those, I thoroughly recommend this series. It is so stupid and yet so awesome.
Oh, God, I just remembered I have something to review in quick fire reviews.
Master Chef. I've fallen for the reality TV rope because Gordon Ramsay is hilarious, and I like art and I like cooking, and Master Chef just encourages both of them to come together, and oh god, I feel so ashamed admitting this.
What I actually find more hilarious is not that you like MasterChef, because I know plenty of people that do. It's the fact that you're perfectly okay with admitting you liked My Little Pony, but you feel ashamed about MasterChef.
The thing is, though, at least My Little Pony I can excuse it because it's narrative fiction. MasterChef is stupid reality TV.
And on that interesting glimpse into our mindset, so that concludes this month's Monkey broadcast. If you have any questions or suggestions for things to review, feel free to leave them in the comment section. That's what it's there for. But until next time, I've been the Jonin Monkey.
And I've been Sven the Crusader. Keep calm and cook on.
That was Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show hosted by the Jonin Monkey and Sven the Crusader. If you feel you've been the subject of slander or that your copyright was misused, send an email to thejoninmonkey@yahoo.co.uk. For more news and media reviews, follow me on Twitter @thejoninmonkey, and go to thejoninmonkey.podbean.com for previous podcasts and MP3 downloads. All music used belongs to the original owners. Until next month, have fun, kids!